Nisha, and I mean, you are certainly in a spot of a turn in terms of the global market setup. The the sharp reversal in global markets is something which we cannot ignore for long. I mean, 7% down for Nasdaq, which has been the most performing index, followed by 5% on Dow, I think is something which you cannot really sugarcoat it. So there is a bit of a pushback in terms of the global market. The good bit for us is that we are underperforming in this global market fall. We are not far away from an all-time high. While most of the other major markets are correcting from the 52-week highs, Indian markets frankly are not far away from an all-time high. The mood point locally, I think, is that you may see mild profit booking in small cap stocks and a little bit of adjustment in mid cap stocks. But if global markets are not looking all that charged up, sure, it will have a rundown effect on our markets. We are outperforming this fall, which is good news for us, which is on expected lines. Most of the brokerage reports I've read, they're saying pretty much the same thing, that September was a dull month, but October could be a different month. There are pockets of overvaluation in the market, but in general, the large cap stocks are looking cheap. So the way I see things translating in the short term is that it could be an impact of this global, global headwind, which will take the sheen away from the momentum, which may have an impact on the FNO expiry. But the fact they are outperforming this fall, the fact that the Indian narrative is so strong, that means that the correction, I think, is not going to be deep. It's going to be very shallow. So global markets may be at the jaws of a reversal, but that does not hold true for India.
But just looking at our market texture as well, the fact that we've been in quiet consolidation mode for the past two trading sessions, did nothing yesterday. It was at best a very, very narrow band. Yes, the Nifty bank did underperform, and yes, private banks once again took a backseat. Nikunj, I think the question is, as an investor or a trader, do you do anything in the market? I mean, for trading, obviously, you're not getting that swing or momentum either which way, at least at an index level. Yes, individual stocks have been reacting to news flow, but this is not the time to act. You want to wait for the market to take a significant direction or a conclusive direction at that.
So Aisha, you are settled in this range, and I think that range will just bring this point out. While the bias of the range is something which you can argue that is now mildly towards the downside, and the path of the least resistance in the near term 8-10 days really could be on the downside. Frankly, this market is not giving you too much of directional move per se. The missing link for me is that the market, at least the Nifty, is lacking any kind of leadership. Look at that range now. From 22nd August, 21st August, is it August or September? I think it should be September, right? So markets really have been in this kind of a range, which I think is very evident. And I think the best way to navigate in this range is that you will get a directional move either because of what is happening in the global markets or because of the earnings season. Wait for the directional move. While the market will take the time to adjust, you need to be just watchful of mid and small cap stocks rather than chasing them. The stocks which you wanted to buy, some of the stocks will now suddenly be down 5, 10, 15%. And that's the time you want to time your entry point smartly.
Oh, well, yes, that's the time that you want to put an end to the markets. But for now, we have been consolidated. For now, that is the range that we have been tracking. But we're talking about the fact that Indian markets have managed to stand tall and outperform, and that is something which is being acknowledged by a lot of brokerage houses as well. For the longest time, Nomura actually had a neutral call on India. That has now been upgraded to overweight now. They are saying that India is going to be a major beneficiary of China plus one theme. India has a large and liquid equity market, and the recent softness, which has been driven by higher oil prices, is something that could be bought into. In fact, they are saying that yes, weakness might persist in the very immediate term, but valuations are something that might continue to command a premium, and the cyclical slowdown that we are seeing from a high base is expected to kind of reverse very soon. So overall, if you look at the fundamentals of the economy, that's very strong. The growth is one of the fastest in the world. They are talking about how overall the demographics are very positive for India, and even if you look at the policy action and the overall setup ahead of elections as well, Nikunj, it's pretty much a bit of a late call perhaps, but overweight is definitely warranted for India.
See, it may be a late call, but when you come out with calls of changing your stance from market neutral to overweight, you are also cognizant of the underlying valuation. The fact that it's a late call, but it's a late call, it's an obvious call, but it is coming at a time when markets are at reasonably high, which means that Nomura feels that the big picture argument for India and they've not been very specific about sectors and themes in this report, it clearly means that they find there is a big comfort in terms of the economic setup, comfort in terms of the positioning of the country, and comfort in terms of how they expect institutional appetite to move. Bear in mind, while we can talk about FIs flows being slightly patchy in last couple of days, in general this has been a comeback year for foreign institutional investors, unlike 2022. So 2023 would be marked at best as a comeback year for investors, and after the recent run up from the recent low, valuations, if valuations were stretched, then Nomura would have not come out with this report. So to cut a long story short, I guess Nomura is clearly making a point that factors like political election cycle, or what is happening to the oil economy, high inflation, all those factors are unlikely to derail the India growth story.
Okay, that's